Hey guys, how are we doing? Crypto Insight UK here, bringing you back another video. So yesterday obviously was an exciting day in crypto. We had Bitcoin actually wick to new all-time highs only just. XRP had quite a strong move, also quite a strong move against Bitcoin. As you can see here, look at my screen. We wicked to about $112,141, all-time high there for Bitcoin. And XRP had a nice strong move yesterday, breaking out of this downtrend that we've been talking about for a while over there on X. I flagged this a few times. And now the question is, and we're going to try and answer this question in this video, or at least look at what some of the answers to this question might be and what we're looking for. Is this a breakout or a fake out? What do we need to look at next? What are more positive signs and what do we not want to see in as far as short-term price action? So before we get into it, I just want to say to you guys, whether we move up right today, tomorrow, whatever, I don't know. But I do think that the move to the upside is going to come. That's why I've been saying this. That's why this move I wasn't surprised by yesterday. The upside move is imminent. And I've said this in a few videos, whether it's 3 days, 6 days, 2 weeks, I don't know, but we're close. Because one thing I'll say is, when you're at these ranges, like for Bitcoin, all-time high ranges, they're literally designed to wash people out of leverage positions. They create these ranges to what, because the most open interest starts to come in when you're at all-time highs, because people want to catch the next move. They get greedy, they want to catch the next move, or they want to short the top. And these ranges are designed to be choppy and to wash people out of positions, literally. Look at every single time you get towards all-time high, it chops about, does something mad, chops about, does something mad, eventually breaks out. So chops about, does something bad, eventually maybe breaks out, or maybe there's a little bit more chopping to go. And that's what we're going to look at a little bit now. There's a lot of positives, to be absolutely honest with you, but a few things I'm cautious on too. So getting into it, let's look at liquidity to start with. On the hourly, what we can see is Bitcoin moved into that first dense area of liquidity that we've been signaling for a while now, about $111,000 up to about $111,500, and obviously wicked higher. Positive is we've got significantly more liquidity starting to build above us, and that was this little patch was already there, and then we've had more builds since yesterday's high as people again try and short the top. And that's what can catalyze these moves to become more explosive and parabolic towards the upside, is as you start to move into these deep pools of liquidity. Yes, these are people having to liquidate or close short positions, in turn buying, but then also people add to short positions above, thinking, oh, it's not going to break out here, we're going to get a short in, short the top of the range, come down, for example. But then if you keep that momentum going, because you're stopping out and cascading the stop losses to the upside, you can cascade the next set of stop losses, and then as you start to push up, more people short, and then that keeps squeezing the price higher and higher. And then we take us to the daily liquidity pools. It's where it starts to get exciting, because we are on the verge of touching this really exciting period, if you ask me. So we're here. We literally wicked potentially into it yesterday, but this is the dense area of liquidity that we want to start closing in and really taking this. And I'd like to see it with one big clean sweep. I just spat on the screen, sorry about that. One big clean sweep like we did here. We pushed, we had a big, nice, obvious impulsive push into the liquidity. We then consolidated and pushed higher. Another really interesting thing that you're going to notice, I've only just noticed now, if you watch my videos and read my newsletters, is now look, the liquidity on our right being red makes the previous time when we had the most liquidity ever above us go to the orange, meaning that this is way more dense right now than it was back here. And back here in November was when we had that move of about 40% in like a few weeks, really, about 9 days. That's the sort of thing that could be happening now. However, the liquidity is even more dense, so you would expect a more aggressive move to the upside. That's what it indicates. The other thing you want to remember is during this time period, this is when XRP had its move from 55 cents up to about 270. I think XRP started just as Bitcoin got into this liquidity here and really sent it on higher. So you can see why I'm getting excited. You can see why I'm posting these things over there on X. I wrote about this in the newsletter this week. I wrote about this. This was published last Saturday. So I was saying, I think we're here. This is probably the start of alt season. Said it is possible we're in this section, as I've just discussed at the start of the video. Ranges are literally designed to wash people out of leverage. It's where all the exchanges make money, and even the whales, because they are affiliated with exchanges, probably have some ownership, if not affiliate links with them. And they can also improve liquidity conditions for themselves to be entering and exiting positions as they want to. I discussed why I think we're here in terms of a macro event as well. The S&P breaking all-time highs, potential for a gold short-term pullback just to free up some of that liquidity and rotate that risk-off capital into risk-on markets. And then I also discussed XRP breaking the downtrend, which I've just shown you right now, and XRP dominance, and also ENA, which is an ETH beta play. So let's have a quick look at XRP. We're going to look at XRP's liquidity as well, but this is the downtrend that XRP broke that I was talking about. And then now let's have a look at XRP liquidity. Excuse me, I've still got a bit of a cold. It's getting better. On the daily time frame, look, we've squeezed up into the first little orange section or yellow section above us. And yes, there is still liquidity below us with some building, so you can never really write this off, but above us looks way more appealing for an upside move. I want to just let you know that whenever we move up, we do leave liquidity behind, but we often move into the denser areas. As you can see back here, when we're in this time period, all the way back here, what we can see is there was liquidity above us. Yes, there was always still some below. We started to get the push into this area, and that's where things really start catching fire. And that's what I'm looking for here. Again, I'm not a magician. I don't know if we're definitely going to get it, but I can only show you what I see. And this liquidity here was more dense than it was previously. As you can see, we've took the liquidity when it's been dense every time so far, pretty much. So let's see what happens. We've squeezed up into this first little orange section. If Bitcoin then gets that squeeze, XRP should probably continue to the 260, 270, and that's when we could maybe see these really aggressive candles to the upside. If it is that time for breakout, which I'm leaning towards the fact that I think it is, to be completely frank with you. And taking that into consideration, let's also look at ETH as well. And why is ETH important? Well, ETH is the biggest altcoin. And we're going to look at Bitcoin dominance in a second. So ETH clearly affects Bitcoin dominance being the biggest altcoin. ETH looks pretty similar to what we've been discussing for a while. It's still left that liquidity down below us at 2,000, but we have the possibility and probability to start pushing up into this 2,890 sort of level to 3,000, and then the densest liquidity sits right above us at all-time highs. But I think the shorters are starting to get a bit worried about ETH, which could be a positive sign saying that it's ready to go up, because we're starting to see some of the leverage above us start to come off a little bit for ETH. If we just take ETH down to the short-term time frame onto the hourly, just so I can show you what's going on here. We had that push up out of the range into that dense liquidity, and as we've started to form a bit of what looks like it could be a local high here, we've then started to see shorters come in. This indicates to me that we could be faking out a pullback or have a small like short-term pullback, maybe even to the top of the range that we broke out from 2,600, and then probably a continuation into this liquidity. Because what would happen if we did pull back a little bit, these shorters would get increased confidence, this liquidity would grow, and then we'd probably blast through it. But I also don't want to rule out that we just continue to the upside, because as we've seen in like historically for cryptos generally, I'll show you XRP, when you start to get this move, there's not much in terms of like pullbacks. Yes, they do wick, the daily candles do wick top to bottom, but if I take us to like 4 hourly, for example, see if I can find this from the 4 hour, what you can see is this is XRP now we're talking about. It doesn't give people much of a chance to re-enter. This is like range, we break the range, we consolidate, and then we really break. Then we consolidate on top of the range, which is essentially, this is like kind of where I think we are now. And then we just really start to send it. Not really an opportunity for anyone to get in. Consolidate again, send it, consolidate, send it. And then we had this longer consolidation, push to the highs, and then we've continued that longer consolidation now. So as I said, like I think we're at this, maybe not even at that consolidation point yet actually. We're probably up somewhere in this level right now, trying to break the range, then consolidate, have the push, consolidate on top and send. So right now, trying to break the range, which I think we've done. I would like to see a bit more of a continuation today because we've broken that trend line, breaking the range, decent volume on the range break, some consolidation here, continued higher, maybe consolidate 270 in that real deep pool of liquidity that we saw, and then continue for that full-on breakout attacking all-time highs and attacking that liquidity that we saw above us. The other thing I discussed was ENA in the newsletter, as I showed you guys at the start. We've had a nice little push for ENA as well. ENA looks best on the weekly. I'll show you exactly why I've been bullish on ENA. Obviously, being an ETH beta play, meaning that I think it's going to do. It's more risky than ETH, so whenever ETH moves in one direction or another, it should do larger percentages, and in this case, hopefully to the upside. What we've seen is ENA formed a range, and the highs and the lows of the range there. We swept the highs, we came down, we swept the lows, and we tagged the support, like bottom support. We've been buying between this bottom support level of 22 cent and about 26, and we're at 29 now. And then we've reclaimed the range, so we should see at least this first range high to 37 cent, and my realistic target, if this is accumulation like I think it is, when we get this breakout, my target will be about 125 there for ENA, which is about a 5x from here. So that'd be fantastic if we could get that sort of move. Looking at some other indicators that we should keep our eye on now for the next few days or so, I'm going to take us back down to the daily time frame now, is Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance lost its first key support, and since then we've basically puked for the last 2 days with increasing volume on the move down. Already today, and they've still got 13 hours left of the candle, we've got more volume than yesterday, so we could see an increased or accelerated push to the downside today if this continues, at least seeing some heavy volume there for Bitcoin dominance. Let's have a look down on the 4 hour. We are in the oversold area, heavily oversold, but we are also not making any divergences yet as we continue to set lower lows, but RSI continues to come down too. Now at some point there probably will be some sort of short-term bounce, and then we'll probably see it continue to the downside. But let's hope on that short-term bounce that it's actually Bitcoin pushing up faster than alts rather than alts slowing down. That's a definite consideration to take. As we said, there is that liquidity pocket still in the short term for Bitcoin. Maybe today accelerates into that, and alts just don't accelerate as fast. That's what we'd like to see, and then that extra capital and liquidity rotates into alts, making this a more aggressive move to the upside. Now, looking at XRP Bitcoin and XRP dominance, these are the things that are going to get people excited. XRP Bitcoin to start with, this is the Gandalf line that Credible Crypto has been talking about, but also that I've actually been flagging for a long while. Go and look through my X. What we did is we discussed all the times that this line has been a key level, reactionary as to resistance or support, and how it accelerates in terms of speed to either direction when we start to get a breakthrough this line. But a key area of interest, as we've tagged it multiple times throughout, well, basically since we lost this level in May of 2020, we've retested it multiple times, both as resistance or support. Now, the other thing that we've been discussing is we had this range of Bitcoin, we swept the lows of the range, and then I said, look, we'll break this downtrend, we'll come back into the range and continue to the upside. We're waiting to see if that happens now. We'd like to see some more volume on the weekly. It looks more exciting as we're starting to get the RSI bullish crossing for the first time since we saw our move from the lows for XRP Bitcoin. Very, very bullish on this if we do get this cross. We've got 3 days and 14 hours left of that candle though, so yet we still have to wait. Looking on the 4 hour, what we can see is we've broken above that line, we've come down, we've held it as support, potentially continuing again today, and that's why I'd like to see a really good strong day today for XRP, or in the next few days, to see a real decent green candle to confirm that this area is well and truly washed away with and done. Because on the daily, what you can see is we did have the highest close for a long while since May 25th, my birthday, but we didn't manage to close above those daily candle closes there. So although it's massively positive, it's not like a home run yet. So that's what I'm waiting to see for today. That's XRP against Bitcoin. And finally, XRP dominance. Just before we sign off this video today, I keep talking about the same thing. I think XRP dominance has completed a Wyckoff accumulation. In the last point of support, the sign of strength phase, created a range, we came back, we back tested the top of the previous range during this time. Very common to do things like this. We just chop around on top of the previous range, looking to push into phase E of Wyckoff accumulation, which is essentially expansion and the completion of a Wyckoff accumulation. So if we look on the weekly time frame, You can see here very clearly, let's just get this open full screen so I can make it easier for you guys. It's pretty textbook, XRP dominance, and if the prices of everything in the crypto starts to head up higher, XRP dominance starts to take more dominance, then by that maths, XRP should outperform everything and do very well in terms of against the dollar as well. Similarly to XRP Bitcoin, XRP dominance could be crossing bullish here on the RSI for the first time since the lows. As I said, recently I'm targeting the 20% sort of level for XRP dominance. People are targeting 14%. I think that's a safe level to target. It's not going to ruffle any feathers. It's pretty obvious it's probably going to go to the 14%. 20% is a bit more speculative, but I'm willing to put my neck on the line and say that's where I think we're going, not the 14%, which I think is a bit of a cop-out from people. Because essentially what they're saying, if they're saying 14%, is that XRP is only going to retrace against the market and isn't going to try and test range highs, which pretty much just as any, I'll just take this off just so you can see. If you just say that this is a range, just the same way that any range trades, we should see the test at the top of the range. Like just to say that, oh, that's been a key resistance level. And if you put a Fibonacci retracement on there, it's like in the retracement levels, just to say, oh yeah, like it's a retracement level. Such an easy thing to say. It's not, but it doesn't really make honest TA. If we're range trading, we should test the top of the range realistically. And the top of the range could be up here at 31, but I would say it's more likely to be up at about 18 to 20%, to be honest. And then it's a discussion of whether we break that range and start to hit expansion for XRP dominance. Now that's a completely different discussion. It's not one that I'm going to be focusing on this cycle, because if we start to hit 20% dominance, I'm going to start deleveraging, because the risk of us going higher for the reward isn't worth it, in my opinion. But it's significant upside from where we are now. It's a 5x in terms of dominance, and that's not just price. That'd be 5x in price if we just went up and everything else stayed still, and I think everything else is going to go up too, pretty much. So it's probably more than a 5x from here to hit that 20%, and that's where I think we're going. So use your maths on that one. It takes us to, as I said, $11, $12 at least for this next move, if I'm right on that. And look, we might not get there in one sweep to the upside. We might, but we might not. So don't take that like as gospel, but just keep that in mind. That's what I think is going to happen. So with all that being said, guys, that's everything that I've got for you today. If you did enjoy this video, please do hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, share it with a friend. It's free to do. If you want to trade any leverage, I have links to WEX and MEXC in the description below. They're both non-KYC exchanges. Always good to add a couple of extra exchanges to your portfolio, whether you use them or not. Always be careful, obviously, trading leverage. I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. Peace up, A-Town down, as Crypto Insight UK would say. Also, let's flipping go XRP holders.